You never think the person holding the blade that close is the one about to cut you. It was a regular Thursday afternoon, one of those days that feels completely normal until it isn't. I was in the barber's chair, halfway through my usual cut. Marcus, the guy I'd gone to for years, was chatting away like he always did, talking football, griping about gas prices, laughing at nothing in particular. The place smelled like aftershave, worn leather, and whatever cologne Marcus thought worked best that day. The mirror in front of me showed the same face I saw yesterday, some gray starting to creep in, tired eyes, and those laugh lines that didn't really come from laughing anymore. Then my phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced down, not thinking much of it. It was a message from Julia, my wife. I tapped it open and froze. The message was just a photo, blurry, but clear enough to make my stomach twist into knots. There she was, my wife, smiling that soft smile I had not seen in a long time, sitting across the table from some guy. His face was turned halfway, but I could see just enough. "Everything all right?" Marcus asked, eyes still on the clippers, not noticing the war starting behind my eyes. "Yeah," I answered too quickly. Just a dumb message from work. But the photo was still burning into my brain. The guy across from her had a clean fade, one I knew too well. Marcus had been bragging about giving cuts like that since I met him. He only gave those to his close circle. Friends, VIPs, or apparently my wife. I did not say a word. I let him keep cutting. I sat there while the betrayal crawled down my spine like ice. That is the thing about getting stabbed in the back. It is not always loud. Sometimes it is real quiet. Your mind goes blank like the power got cut. Your hands go still because your body is waiting for instructions that are not coming yet. He spun me around, held up the mirror behind me. "Looking good, right?" "Yeah," I said. "Nice and clean." I paid in cash, just like I always did. Even left a tip. Then I walked to my car with my hands jammed into my pockets, heart pounding like a drum I couldn't silence. In the car, I opened the photo again. I studied every part of it. The background was a downtown restaurant. I recognized it from a night Julia and I had dinner there years ago. The lights were dim, that hipster exposed brick vibe, the whole deal. She was wearing the red jacket I bought her last anniversary. Her hand rested on his, and while his face was angled just enough to create doubt, one thing gave him away. The bracelet. Marcus always wore this thin, handmade leather cuff on his wrist. He once told me his daughter made it at camp. I had never seen him without it. The man in the photo? Same bracelet. Same wrist. I did not say a word that night. I made dinner, spaghetti, her favorite. We ate like normal people. She was on her phone, pretending to smile at memes or messages. I asked how her day had been. She answered without blinking. "Oh, just out running errands. Nothing special." I nodded and swallowed hard, like her lie was a chunk of glass I had to keep down. "Good you got some air." She kissed me goodnight. That part of the show still went on. Julia still played the part, like nothing was broken, like she had not already gutted our marriage and left the shell standing. That is when I realized this was not just cheating. It was calculated. It was rehearsed. I was not sleeping next to a wife anymore. I was lying beside a con artist. The next day, I walked back into Marcus's shop. "You forget something?" he asked, grinning like everything was fine. I gave him a smile back. "Just wanted to say thanks." "Hey man, anytime. You know I got you." "Yeah, I knew." And now I had him too. What he did not know was that I had already set up a recording app on a burner phone. Slipped it into the magazine rack while he stepped outside to take a call. I was not ready to call him out. Not yet. I want a hard proof. Words. Laughter. Lies on tape. I left that shop calm as a pond on a windless day. Because now it was not just about catching them. It was about crushing them. That weekend, I could not stop thinking. I kept walking laps inside my own head, replaying every conversation I had with Julia over the last few months. Everything started to sound different. Look different. Meanwhile, she kept acting like nothing was off. Bringing me coffee in the morning. Smiling over dinner. Sending little love texts like we were still solid. It was a performance. And she was damn good at it. Monday rolled around. I went to work like usual. Smiled at my coworkers. Cracked jokes in the break room. But my mind? It was back at that barber shop. When Julia left for Pilates that evening, I locked myself in the office, lights off, headphones on. I played the recording back. The first part was normal. Small talk, a kid fussing about his haircut, guys joking about sports. Then about 3 hours in, everything shifted. Her laugh. That sound came through the headphones like a punch to the stomach. I knew that laugh. The real one. Not the fake giggle she gave our neighbors. Not the polite one she used at dinner parties. This one was hers. The one I fell in love with. The one I had not heard in months. "Don't sit there," Marcus joked. "Still warm from your husband's ass." Julia's voice followed. "Good. I'll sit on your lap instead." Then quiet. A zipper. Then nothing but soft sounds. Shifting. Breathing. Moaning. It was her. And him. Right there in his chair. Probably the same one I sat in 2 days before. I hit pause. I sat in the dark, heart punching the inside of my chest. My hands gripped the edge of the desk, so tight I thought the wood might crack. I had done everything right. Worked hard. Loved her. Stayed loyal. And this was what I got. That night, I did not sleep. The next morning, I booked another haircut. Marcus greeted me with that same cocky smile. "You again? Miss me already?" I looked him in the eye. I figured if my wife trusts your hands, maybe I should too. Just a flicker in his face. A twitch of the eye. Most would miss it. I did not. He tried to play it cool. "You're a lucky guy, man. Julia is something else. Classy. Graceful. Old school charm." I smiled. "Yeah, she really knows how to keep things neat." He laughed. "That she does." He had no idea I already knew everything. That I had the audio. That I had been watching them like a hawk circling its prey. I left the shop, same tip, same smile. "You take care of her," he called out behind me. I turned and looked him dead in the eye. "Do not worry. I planned to." And the truth was, I meant it. Because I was done being quiet. The game had started, and I was playing to win. That night, after Julia drifted off to sleep beside me, curled up like nothing in the world was wrong, I slipped out of bed and headed downstairs. The burner phone was still in the drawer, right where I left it. I grabbed it, backed up all the recordings to a secure cloud account, encrypted the whole folder, and emailed a copy to an account I had set up under a fake name, Adam Beck. I was not planning to go nuclear yet, but I was not about to leave anything behind. I was playing smart now, quiet and steady. If it all blew up, I wanted my ammo locked and loaded. Next morning, I made an appointment with a divorce attorney. Her name was Marlene Nguyen. A buddy of mine used her when his wife ran off with her yoga instructor. He said she was sharp, tough as nails, and always one step ahead. Sounded like exactly who I needed. Her office was clean, minimal, sunlight through big windows, everything in glass and steel. No fluff, just facts. I sat across from her, and for the first time in a while, I told the truth. All of it, start to finish. She didn't interrupt, didn't blink, just listened, nodding now and then, until I ran out of steam. Then she looked me in the eye and said, "You do not realize it yet, but you are holding the cards here." And just like that, something shifted inside me. I left her office with a folder of documents and one clear instruction: gather everything. Photos, receipts, call logs, anything I could get my hands on. Most of it I already had. The rest, I was going to collect. That night, Julia said she had dinner plans with a friend. One of those vague, harmless-sounding things cheaters always say when they think you're still in the dark. I smiled, kissed her cheek. Have fun. She wore a dress I hadn't seen in months. Tight, red, made to turn heads. When the door closed behind her, I picked up the burner phone and drove straight to Marcus's barbershop. The lights were off. I waited across the street in my car, engine off, just watching. 2 hours later, Julia pulled up. She stepped out and walked up to the door like she belonged there. No knock, no hesitation. She had her own key. That was when the last piece clicked into place. This was not casual. This was not a fling. They had routines, habits, a second life built on my paycheck and my silence. I did not rage. I did not cry. I just sat there in the dark, letting the truth settle in like cold water around my bones. Next day, I dropped a USB drive into Marcus's mailbox. No letter, no name, just the first 20 minutes of the recording. Enough to rattle him. He called me that night. Blocked number. No hello, no small talk. Just 2 words, "We should talk." I smiled to myself. Yeah, I said, "We should." Then I hung up. Julia was already asleep upstairs when I got in, curled on her side, like she was the same woman I married years ago. But she wasn't. That woman was long gone, and the one wearing her face had no clue she was about to find out what betrayal really looked like. Marcus met me the next evening, just like I told him to. No car, no crew, just him walking into the park, shoulders hunched, hands deep in his jacket pockets. He looked smaller than usual. The confidence was gone. The charm, too. We stood under the gazebo at the far end of the park, where no one could hear us. No cameras, no distractions, just wind and silence. He spoke first. "You got guts, man." I nodded. "So do you." One of them was inside my wife last week. His jaw tightened. He glanced away. "Look," he started. "Don't." I cut him off. "Don't make it worse." I pulled out my phone, played 5 seconds of that audio. Julia's voice, moaning his name like it was a hymn. He flinched like he'd been punched. "You think you're the first guy she's cheated with?" I asked. Or just the dumbest? Still no answer. His eyes dropped to the ground, shoulders sagging. "You got a kid, right?" I asked. He nodded slow. "A daughter. 7. Imagine she grows up, finds someone good, gets married, then some guy treats her the way you treated me." He looked like I'd hit him in the chest. That was what I wanted. I didn't want blood. I wanted understanding. "You're going to end it," I said. "Tonight. No delays. Block her. Delete the number. Cut it off. And if I don't, then I send those files to your wife, your clients, your kid's school if I have to. I will bury your name in places Google cannot clean." "You'd really do that?" "You already did it to me." We stood there, eye to eye, long enough for the wind to pick up and carry off whatever was left of his excuses. "You gonna hit me?" he asked. "Not tonight," I said. "I want you clear-headed when you tell her goodbye." He nodded. "Just once," then turned and disappeared into the dark. I stayed put, letting the cold soak in, staring at the sky like it owed me an answer. But I was done asking questions. I went home late. Julia pulled into the driveway just 10 minutes later. She walked through the door like she had just come back from a movie, kissed me on the cheek, and asked if I wanted tea. I said yes. Watched her move around the kitchen, humming, acting like nothing had changed. But I saw it. Her hand trembled a little when she reached for the honey jar. "Rough night?" I asked. She did not turn around. "Just tired. Lauren's cat got sick." "That's too bad." Then she turned and smiled, but her eyes never met mine. There it was, the crack, the first slip in her perfect little script. Next morning, I called in sick. Sat in the garage with the envelope Marlene had handed me. Divorce papers, financial records, account lists, password reset forms. The whole blueprint for leaving someone behind. I didn't sign them yet. Not because I had doubts, but because I was still setting the trap. That night, I slipped a second recorder, hidden in a phone, under Julia's car seat. Just in case. I knew Marcus was done. But someone like Julia, she doesn't fold easy. She adapts. She finds a new lie. And I needed to hear it before she said it out loud. What I heard instead hit me harder than I expected. She was on the phone. But not with him. With someone else. A woman. Voice low, trying to sound calm. "He knows," Julia said. I could see it on his face. Like he was already building a wall around me. Then silence. The voice on the other end said, "You need to act fast." "I will," she said. "I just need more time." Then came the line that knocked the breath out of me. It was never about Marcus. Not about him. Then who was it about? What was it about? That is when I realized this was not just cheating. This was something deeper. Something worse. There was more under the surface. I could feel it. And I wasn't about to stop digging until I hit the foundation. Her first mistake, leaving her laptop open. The second, thinking I wouldn't notice a strange little email folder buried 5 layers deep inside her inbox. It was labeled herbal orders. I almost laughed. Julia didn't cook with herbs unless they came in a pre-packed tray from Trader Joe's. She once said rosemary tasted like dirt. But there it was, message after message between her and some random Gmail alias I didn't recognize. And this wasn't casual stuff. The tone was formal, cold, like they were writing legal memos. Words like final delivery timeline, confirmed disposal, stage 3 readiness. At first, I figured maybe she joins a pyramid scheme. But then I opened the attachments. Scanned documents. Legal-looking forms. Copies of ID cards. One of them was mine, my driver's license. My name. My signature. A forged power of attorney written in handwriting I'd seen 1,000 times over breakfast. There was also a contract hidden in a PDF transferring ownership of my father's old property, our second home, to a company I'd never heard of. And just like that, it all clicked. This wasn't just about cheating. Julia wasn't breaking my heart. She was robbing me. Slowly, quietly, like a surgeon working with gloves on and a smile. I downloaded every file, sent copies to Marlene's encrypted server, and then I got to work. The next morning, I went to the county office and requested all the property records I could get my hands on. Turns out she'd been rerouting things for months, transferring accounts, adjusting policy names, siphoning access to utilities and accounts one at a time. I asked the clerk if that sort of thing was typical in divorce cases. She gave me a flat look and said, "Only if one of you is planning to disappear." That night, Julia cooked a pot of pasta and poured me a glass of wine. Told me how proud she was of how hard I'd been working lately. I nodded, chewed my food, watched her act like everything was just fine. She went to bed early, said she had a headache, left her phone on the nightstand. When she was asleep, I went back downstairs. 20 minutes later, I had cloned her entire phone to my device. Texts, calls, locations, app data. All of it synced live. I could track every word she sent from that point forward. And that is when I found the next name. Simone. At first, I assumed she was a therapist. But she wasn't Julia's, and she wasn't mine. Just a contact saved as S. In the texts, Julia called her Anchor, and Simone called her V. They weren't talking about therapy. They were planning something. Every message sounded like part of a script. Emotional bait, coded phases, timing cues. Like a carefully crafted play, and I was the guy being led on stage without knowing the lines. Then I found a message that tied it all together. Marcus was never the goal, Julia wrote. He was a useful decoy. The real step forward happens when we convert the assets. Keep him calm until the switch. Then vanish. Keep him calm. Then vanish. Like I was a piece of luggage she could just leave at the airport. But I was done being passive. I sent Simone a message right from Julia's account. Just 2 words. He knows. Then I shut the phone off, put it back where I found it, and walked to the kitchen to finish my wine. The next morning, Julia looked rattled. Not broken, but close. Her smile didn't quite stick. Her questions came too fast. Did you sleep okay? Better than I have in years, I told her. Is something going on? I feel lighter, I said. Like something's finally clearing up. She looked confused. Said that was great. Then she left for work. I knew better. I checked the tracker. Her car didn't go downtown. It didn't go to Simone's office either. It stopped at a building out by the industrial district. A real estate office. I zoomed in on the map and read the business name. Made a note. Then I called Marlene. She's moving again. Of course she is, Marlene said. But she's about to run face first into a wall. That afternoon, I made more calls. Guys I'd helped back in the day. College friends now in banking. A buddy who used to work with the IRS forensic side. By noon, I had everything. The timeline, the money trails, a fake maiden name she never legally had, a file for a temporary identity, shell accounts tied to Wyoming and South Dakota. She's laundering, Marlene confirmed. And badly. Then we burn it down. That evening, Julia came home with Thai takeout and a grin that didn't fit her face. Thought I'd treat us, she said. You've been working hard. We ate on the couch. She asked about my day. I said it was peaceful. She asked how I was feeling. I told her better than I had in months. Every word I said was true, just not in the way she thought. After dinner, she curled into me like the early days, rested her head on my chest, and started tracing circles on my arm. You ever think about just leaving it all behind? She asked. I looked at her. More than you know. New start. Clean slate. Just the 2 of us. You'd want that. You wouldn't, she whispered. I'll let the quiet do the talking. She was trying to test me. See if the escape hatch was still open. She thought she still had time. But Simone hadn't replied all day. That was because Simone's license had just been suspended. Fraud. Filed anonymously by a former patient. Julia had picked the wrong friend to trust. And I'd picked the perfect moment to start yanking strings. That night, I sat alone in the office, holding my father's old hunting knife. Not because I planned to use it, just because it reminded me of something he used to say, Patience ain't waiting, it's sharpening while you wait. The blade was dull. I sharpened it for an hour, just for the meaning. Sometimes you gotta hold steel to remember you still can. At 1:03 in the morning, my finance contact sent the last email I was waiting on. Her hidden account? Frozen. Her exit strategy? Dead in the water. Her false names? Flagged. She was broke, and she didn't even know it yet. I closed the laptop and walked to the bedroom. She was sleeping peacefully, her back to me. I watched her for a while, breathing slow and steady like nothing was wrong. And I thought to myself, tomorrow, she'll wake up thinking she still owns this world. But the truth? She's already living in mine. She had no clue that the man she kissed goodbye that morning had already set fire to everything she thought she still had control over. Busy day, she said, slinging her purse over her shoulder. Might be home late. Don't wait up. I gave her a grin. I never do. She winked like it was some kind of inside joke. Then she walked straight into the lion's den, and she didn't even know it. By 9:30 that morning, I was already at the county building. Fresh jacket, new tie, blending in like I belonged. I stood just outside the office room, behind a pane of glass, watching Julia sit across from a real estate agent and a notary. She didn't see me. She was all smiles. Confident. Cool. Handing over fake documents like she had done it 100 times. That power of attorney she forged? She slid it across the table like it was nothing. The notary checked the details. The broker laughed at something she said, and she smiled like it was the easiest thing in the world. It was the same smile she had on our wedding day. The same tuck of the hair behind her ear. For a second, I almost believed it again, until I remembered the audio, the files, and how far she had gone to lie her way through our life together. The notary stood and stepped out. That was the cue. A few minutes later, she came back, but not alone. 2 uniformed deputies walked in behind her, along with a woman in a dark blue blazer. Legal rep from the county. Julia blinked, confused, let out a nervous little laugh. What's this about? One of the deputies placed a thick envelope in front of her. Cease and desist. A report detailing how she tried to sell off property that was not hers to sell. The color drained from her face. She stood up too fast, nearly knocking the chair back. Nobody touched her. No cuffs. No shouting. This wasn't an arrest. It was a reckoning. She mumbled something to the agent, apologized, clutched her purse like it held her soul, and practically bolted out of there. She walked right past me on her way out. Never looked my way. And that was the thing. People like her, they never see the one cleaning up the mess. I followed from a distance. Watched her get in her car. First thing she did? Called Simone. Except Simone was not picking up. Because Simone's credentials had just been flagged that morning. Temporary license suspension. Anonymous documents had been sent. Her practice put on hold. Voicemail. Julia called again. Still nothing. I drove home. Sat in the kitchen. Waited. At exactly 11:52, she came storming through the door like a hurricane. Fury written all over her. What did you do? She snapped. I looked up from my coffee. Nice to see you too. Don't play dumb, Alex. Someone froze the property. My lawyer walked out. And half my accounts are locked. You mean the lawyer you hire behind my back? Her mouth twitched. That little spasm she gets when the panic kicks in. You've been spying on me. No, I said, standing up and setting my cup down. I've been surviving you. You don't have a right. I have every right. I stepped in closer. You broke us. You turned what we had into a transaction. And now you're mad that the deal fell through. She looked at me like she didn't recognize the man standing in front of her. Maybe she didn't. You do not understand what I've been through, she whispered. Then help me, I said. Help me understand why you slept with my barber. Why you forged my name. Why you try to bleed out our savings with a fake identity and a therapist running scams out of a fake clinic. I didn't. Stop lying. She froze. The air between us turned heavy. Neither of us spoke. I walked to the drawer, pulled out a thick folder, and dropped it on the table. Inside? Everything. Bank logs, text messages, GPS data, screenshots, audio transcripts. You thought I would never find out, I said. That's going to be your legacy. She looked at the folder, but didn't touch it. Her hand stayed in her lap, still as stone. What now? She asked, voice barely audible. Now, I said, stepping back. Now we talk business. Her eyes flicked up. Cautious. Hopeful, maybe. That was the mistake. You're going to sign over power of attorney. You're going to take your name off the house. And you're going to leave the savings alone. And if I don't, then everything gets shared, I said. The messages go public. The recordings go to Marcus's wife. Simone gets subpoenaed. Your name gets dragged through every dirty corner of the internet where people love stories like yours. You wouldn't. Julia, I said, calm and clear, I already have. She slumped into the chair. No yelling. No big fight. Just a woman realizing the house of cards she built was already on fire. You were always good at fixing things, she muttered. No, I said. I'm good at walking out of the mess with clean hands. And she signed. No protest. No apology. Just the scratch of pen on paper. I watched her fingers move. Fingers that used to wear my ring, used to hold mine with promises of forever. Now they trembled as she signed away what little was left of that vow. And I felt nothing. Not hate. Not sadness. Just the quiet kind of peace that comes when you finally finish a job that took too long. Once she was done signing, she slid the folder toward me, then leaned back in her chair like someone had just cut the strings that held her together. Her voice wasn't sharp anymore. Just empty. Quiet. Was any of it real? She asked. Were you? I did not speak right away. I want to say yes. I want to tell her I remembered the girl who used to laugh at my dumb jokes. The woman who danced in the kitchen with no music, barefoot and full of life. But truth is, I was not sure who that woman was anymore. Maybe I had never really known her at all. Maybe I just fell in love with the act. I said, right up until you stopped being. That was all she was going to get. She did not cry. Julia never wasted tears unless she needed something. Instead, she got up, walked to the window, and stared out like there might still be a door to escape through. What now? She asked. Now you start fresh, I said. Just like you planned. She turned to face me. Her mouth twisted. With nothing. I shrugged. You'll still have your name. Unless that was fake too. She flinched. Barely. But I saw it. I stood, left the folder sitting there on the table, and walked out without another word. I got in a car and drove a few blocks to the back alley behind Marcus's shop. The lights were off. The closed for maintenance sign hung crooked in the window. I could not help but smile. On the passenger seat, I had an envelope. Inside was a flash drive, a transcript, and a note I printed in big block letters. To the wife. He was never loyal to you. Or anyone. Thought you should know. I slid it through the mail slot and walked away. Let the fire burn on its own. I had seen enough smoke for a lifetime. When I got home, Julia was gone. Her closet was empty. No note. No message. Just gone. The house was silent in a way it had not been in years. Not quiet, empty. I walked room to room like I was touring a museum of a life that had already ended. The kitchen where we made holiday dinners. The couch where she laughed at jokes she never really found funny. The bedroom where a stranger had slept next to me every night. I went in my office, opened the drawer, pulled out the recorder, and erased everything. Not because I forgave her. Because I did not need the voices anymore. They had done their part. The battle was over. 2 weeks passed. The divorce was final. My name was on the house alone. I changed the locks, repainted the walls, and boxed up our wedding pictures. Labeled the box no longer needed and stuck in the garage. I heard Marcus shut down the shop. Word was his wife took their daughter and left town. Moved 2 states over. No forwarding address. He texted me once. Just a single question mark. I never replied. What was left to say? One evening, I found myself standing outside that old barber shop. Same dusty windows. Same peeling sign. I stared at the glass and my own reflection. Still had the same eyes, but I was not the same man. I turned around and walked away without a word. 3 months later, I met someone. Not love. Not yet. Just a woman named Lena who smiled like she meant it. She asked questions that mattered and did not get uncomfortable when I told her I'd been married. Divorced? She asked. Cut clean, I said. Sharp and simple. She laughed. I laughed back. For real this time. It felt strange using those muscles again. But not bad. We had coffee after that. Dinner once or twice. She never asked about Julia, and I never brought her up. That chapter is closed. Not forgiven. Just finished. Sometimes, late at night, I still picture that first moment. Mark is standing behind me with clippers. Julia, in that photo, she thought no one would see, smiling at another man like she forgot I existed. It plays like an old movie reel from a life I do not live anymore. There is no anger left in it, no sadness, just a kind of quiet truth.